Hello dear viewers! Today I'm very excited to show you how you can make your work visual with Teamhood as a true Kanban system. And we'll start with some fundamentals to build up your knowledge, and then we'll move to more advanced features in the latter part of this video. So let's kick it off. What you're seeing in my screen, I have a single workspace which is called Kanban Incorporated. That's my fictional company where I have 3 boards. A simple one, a detailed one, and an advanced one. I will show you key differences in a matter of minutes, and you will learn why and how to choose one board over another, and what kind of features you can, implement inside each board, which suits your business needs. So if we start with a simple board, let's cover some basic structure. And what you see here as a basic structure, I call statuses, or otherwise known as columns, and rows. In statuses, well, we kind of measure the progress of work, in which stage the work is and what kind of stages do we have on the board, so we can ensure that each task from the idea to the finish line, it travels the same path and people know what needs to be done, in which order, and those who are organizing the tasks can visualize where is work at and what's the progress, what's happening every day. That's the power of Kanban. Now with the rows, well, it's something already advanced in Teamhood because we believe that two-dimensional structure is far superior. You need to be able to group work in smaller scope groups, and if it's similar work type, maybe it's similar because of the deadlines, or maybe it's just some sort of things that you prefer to be on top over the bottom while you are prioritizing. And in this example I have high priority row and normal priority row. It's very simple. I can put everything that's urgent on top and then everything that's less urgent in the bottom, which is just normal priority. And that's my board. Statuses, again, very simple to do, doing and done. What's special about these statuses is that in Teamhood, each status can have a unique type, and these types can be set via settings. And if it's a type new, it means you can create new items in it. If it's a type in progress, it means that's just a regular any status in Teamhood. And then if it's a type completed, once you move item to that status, it automatically completes the item. Let's see how that works. Bam, completed. That's as simple as that. Now, of course, this structure might be too simple for your case. So you will be always able to add more statuses, configure them, change colors, titles, and the other things that are related to them. If I click on the cog icon, or if I go back to my side menu and select settings, I will be directed to these workflow configuration options. Just make sure that the tab is selected. And let's add a new status, which we will make red one, and I will call it like it's thing next up. I really like the status because it instantly communicates to my team what should we do next. What is the most important thing that we should focus on after we finish current tasks? And then for me, as a task coordinator, it's also very good because I can see when do I need to plan new items, new tasks for my team, if they're already taking everything that's already been assigned to next up. Cool, right? And that's what I call making work visual. You color your statuses, color your item cards, and well, just make things stand out in colors, shapes, and locations instead of just using, Excel sheets where everything is in text. And to understand the current situation, you need to spend hours just reading. Well, that doesn't make sense in nowadays world, and it will never make sense in the future. So just make work visual. That's what we believe and we live every day with. Now, if we dive in a bit into Kanban cards, or items as we call them, each Kanban card represents a single unit of work. So something needs to be done, something we need to achieve or we want to deliver value. Everything in the card can be placed which is related to that actual task. And there are plenty of things that you can place in here. So first of all, you can set the schedule, estimate if you think that it should take 2 hours. Maybe there is a budget assigned to this card. Maybe set it to 1,000 euros. And then maybe after you've done, planning and you start executing the task, your team can track actual time spent on this task. So eventually you will be able to compare how many hours were estimated and how many hours did you spend in reality. And there's a very cool report which we call timesheet. It will show you the differences. It will calculate you the total track time per month, per week, or per user. But I will not show it today in the video. It's not the focus. Look for other videos and learn more about it. We continue by looking just at quickly what is time tracking. So you just sign off time and you can have it passively added like I just did, or you can actively click play button and it starts ticking, starts counting every precious second. That's it. Time tracking done. Let's move on. Each item can have tags. Tags are super important because you want to use them for two main reasons. One reason is additional communication to your team. Like maybe you want to assign a tag to symbolize some specific type of work. Let's say if this is an order for engineering task, I might just add tag called engineering and people will know that it's about engineering. Or I can use tags for various filtering reasons. For instance, if I'm working as an agency for clients, I might want to use tags as clients. So every time I create a new work, I assign it to some specific client, and then by the end of the month, I can report based on those tags. Super powerful, very flexible thing to do. You will decide what you want out of it, but just make this mental note. They are very important once you get to the reporting part. All right, let's move on. Well, other simple things, you can attach files and you can add anything you like in Teamhood. We have 100 megabyte limitation of file size, but you should be good with that. Usually it's about images, text documents, Excel sheets, or whatever you like. Then you can supplement additional information by typing comments or just, mentioning people, saying, hey, hey Elvis, and that person will receive a notification in the system, and then depending on user settings, either via email or popular chat applications like Slack or Teams. So what I'm showing you here is centralizing all the relevant information about work in one single place. So it's not only about you who are creating tasks, it's also about those people who are doing tasks, because they need to know everything to be successful. You should decorate tasks with as much information as possible, so once a person goes to that task, they don't need to ask any question. They don't need to send you emails or call you on the phone. They just get everything in a single place and they already know what needs to be done, and their success is pretty much ensured. That's super important. And then the last piece I want to show you, of course, you can assign items to people. If there are more than one, assign it to multiple people. That's totally fine in Teamhood. If you need to break down work and you have smaller tasks inside, like a checklist, you can create relationships, and the main one, which we call child items, is like, what should we do to accomplish this task? And then it's task A, task B, and so on. These tasks can be assigned to different people even and have their different schedules. It's extremely useful when you're working with larger team or with larger work items, because you still need to, deliver specific things one thing at a time. Don't create large and long time taking tasks. Just break them down to smaller ones. It will be far more superior in terms of progress tracking and people just knowing what needs to be done. All right. If we covered that, we looked at the item, it has a couple of child tasks. It looks like that in Teamhood simple board. It's just like a checklist underneath of each top level item. If you complete something, it just gets hidden. That's why we say we want to focus on what's relevant at the single point in time, because usually in these systems, if you have hundreds of tasks, it becomes cluttered so fast. That's why in Teamhood we pay special attention. How can you make less details once you don't need them? I will show you soon how that lives. It's not only this, what I just showed you. There's plenty more in store for you. Just keep watching. Let's move on from fundamental board structure to something more detailed. Now, this is also still similar Kanban board. The main differences are, first of all, I have work in progress limits. That's a very powerful convention, but it's not only software that should impose, it's also about you and your team. I will tell you also a very, very important secret. The lower the work in progress limit, the higher the throughput. Crazy, right? Keep that in mind. And by having this work in progress limit, I can decide like how many tasks should be in parallel at same specific status. So if it's my in progress status and my small group of people consists of 2 people working on tasks every day, my limit is 2 tasks at the same time, not more. That's my limit. And if I try to move more things into that status, of course Teamhood will reject it. So at least this way we will help you to keep that convention living and imposed, but it's also a lot about you. Keeping that in mind. Another thing that you might spot in this board, a row which I call expedite work. It's the most important work. We usually use expedite rows to reserve for the biggest focus of our team's, day-to-day business. And usually for us, it's about our customers, their users, who we really care and want to help once they get stuck or they have questions. So once there is an inquiry or some incident report, we usually tend to push things into the expedite lane so everybody can focus on it, and it's like top priority. And as this is top priority, we want to also ensure that we can deliver on those expectations by not having too much work in there. And I have a row limit, which is 10 items. If there is more, I need to do some process change. Maybe I need more people in the team, or I need to rethink our incident priorities or request priorities. That's very powerful, and you can model a lot of things with these kind of limitations, so your process becomes not only visual but also guiding. It will be like a North Star to your team. Last thing that we want to look in the detailed board is this gap between my statuses and these top level headlines. So of course I can rename anything right away by just clicking on the title, as you just saw. But what's so special about this gap? In Kanban, in a true Kanban system, this is called commitment point. And commitment point is not only a visual thing, it's also mental and process thing, where if an item crosses commitment point, it means we have committed to delivering it. It also means that we should not push it back. So you should model your process this way, that if there is a planning or prioritization stage, items should be still able to travel back and forth. But once you have prioritized something and committed to doing it, and you move it to work in progress, that's kind of it. You have elected a very important task. It requires to be finished. Unless there are some dependencies or impediments, you should not keep pushing it back. And even if there are dependencies or impediments, in Teamhood we have a very special function for that. It's called suspend. And if I suspend an item, I can write suspend reason, and let's say missing document, right? I cannot work on it because I'm missing some specification document. It's also very visual. So once my team gets into the meeting or they look at the board, my manager looks at the board, we can see that there is something missing and we need to resolve it. Until that's done, this card won't be able to move, right? So these are important things. They are conventions and visual things, but please think about them, because from the experience in practical application, they deliver a lot of value for your team and how you work, how efficiently you are, what's your throughput, and how fast can you resolve problems. And yeah, it's an everyday thing. So this is detailed board. There are a few features that I just covered, and of course one last thing that I want to mention, this detailed board has also not one but 2 completed statuses, because in real life it's not always a success that we reach. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes work becomes irrelevant just because of external reasons. That's why I have 2 different statuses, one called completed, the other one called rejected. And this way I can start compartmentalizing my items with their outcome. I can later report how much we succeeded, how much we rejected. Very nice, very powerful feature. Well, it's just model of your process, and well, management and senior people in companies, they do love that because they can get understanding how well we are doing with value deliveries. And it's not about failing, it's about then writing a reasons why did we reject something and looking through them, doing a review after a month, after a quarter, just review what has been non-delivered and what were the reasons. It's a very important task for a business to retrospect and understand what are the key problems, right? All right, that got covered. I think last thing which we should look while we are still in this somewhat simple board is that we can customize it. And we can customize by adding additional fields. Like for instance, if that was my support board, I would be super interested to see how many days have already passed since item creation. So I just added a field called item age. An amazing piece of information. I can instantly spot items which are aging, meaning that we already took too much time and it's just stale, it's not moving anywhere. So either we reject it or we just, delete it or do something and finish it. There are plenty of things to go from it, but there are also plenty of things that you can do with fields. There are default fields and you can create custom fields, multi-option pickers, textual, number fields, whatever your specific business needs require. And alongside that, you can either simplify or decorate your board with other things. So for instance, some people might want just to, if they're task executors, they just want to look at, what needs to be done, and maybe they're not super interested in tags if they're being used just for filtering. So they can make their items very, very small and simple. They can even say, okay, I don't care about child items at all. So look, I just simplified my board and it can make life for people easy, right? And last few things, you can do different grouping and ordering in this menu. A very important grouping is by user or tag. So for instance, if my Kanban board has rows, at some point of time as a manager, I might want to see what my people are up to, what's their load, and what kind of things they have in the pipeline. And if I switch to grouping by user, I can instantly see, who has capacity, who is, flooded with tasks, and various questions can be answered by just doing this simple grouping. But I will just delete all my customizations and go back to the default view as before. And I will move on to our special board called Advanced Kanban. This is the true power of Teamhood. I don't expect everybody to jump straight to it. Someone who is a bit experienced or already, familiar with Kanban, they might go dive into this straight. If you're not familiar, I don't recommend diving in straight unless you have like a clear, requirement why you need it, and maybe you want to consult with us. We could recommend doing it. But apart from that, just gather a bit of, warm-up speed and then move into it. Now, what's so special about this board? It's called Advanced because it has nested processes, nested swim lanes, 3 dimensions, many names that we can think of, but let me show you instead of just talking. So look what kind of magic it will be. I have my mini project which has a breakdown of child items. When we have bigger projects, if I move it to in progress and we will just be ticking off one thing at a time, it might not be visual enough because there are more stages for each child item, or a subtask as one might call. Now, if I move it to in progress, there is this special gray zone called Swimlanes in Kanban. Look what happens. All child items unfold as cards. Now they are standalone work items which can move separately to mini process, which also can have different statuses: to do, doing, done, review, sign off, or anything you can think of. So you will be able to model even more, and one board can symbolize your whole business. That's super powerful. It has limitations if your company is around, like 20, 50 people already, and well, I don't recommend doing everything in one board. But if you're below like 20 people, one board works magic, just magic with this nested process. And once you finish all your child items, right, you just move them to completed stage, you can sign off the project and you say, all right, that's our project. It just got done. So this is what I call controlling level of detail, because once you are in planning stage, you might not be too interested to see those Kanban cards expanded. That's why we keep it simple. They are just a checklist, but once you move it to the work in progress, they expand. This way, Teamhood is the only solution that can offer on the market for very numerous items and tasks, for busy teams, for big portfolios, a power of controlling information. Keep that in mind, try it out, you'll see what kind of magic you can work with it. All right, moving on. Last bit what I want to show you, while already speaking about bigger teams and processes, is if in one workspace there are more different teams or groups of people working, which can still be modeled like a conveyor, you know, like somebody is handing over work to other team and they continue working and then maybe they hand over to another team. So we totally envision that, and people work in different processes. So maybe one team will be using this advanced Kanban board, but the other team, they don't care about it. They need something simpler. That's why imagine if you have sales and manufacturing teams. So sales, they take customer orders, they try to ensure that we can deliver it, that they price the order, and if customer signs the quote, we say, all right, we can work on it. So if there is a new order, imagine like that, just as you see on my screen, there is a new order already. Sales just try to do their work, they calculate everything and they say, okay, we should do that. They can actually move it to another board. Let's move it to advanced board, and it just got sent to another team and it appeared on the first status for that team. So it's like, you know, a handover of work. This way you can model more complicated processes and different large business stages until your work reaches success. So moving items between boards or even workspaces. I need to emphasize this once more. I'm using single workspace because that's quite a lot what you can start with. You don't need more until you get familiar with the system. Then you can create multiple workspaces and actually even move work between workspaces. Maybe you will decide to separate sales, marketing, engineering teams so they can work on and focus only on their things. But you can also do same thing in the same workspace. If we open our board settings and go to general, we can general settings, we can see there are a few options we can set here, but we also see that we can make this board private and limit it to certain amount of people. So if I limit it, I can select only people who can have access to this board. Very powerful feature, and this can save you a lot of time if you want to keep your one workspace setup, right? Then while we are at settings, I can also spend a few minutes introducing you what are general settings in here, not only boards, because in the board you can define settings per board level, but you can also define settings per workspace level. And that means you can, you know, change common things in that workspace, turn on or off features. If you're not using time tracking, you know, all right, let's turn it off so people have less distractions in the system. I mean, our users, they love it, so they can control, you know, like a menu. What you want, you take. What you don't need, you hide. And, you know, set it up to their specific needs. Then, of course, you will be able to control roles of people in the system by inviting them to workspace team. It's not only enough to invite people to your account, you should also invite them to workspace. Keep that in mind. Create tags, create custom fields. I don't have any yet, but I can just, you know, create something like customer name. Let's say in each task, I need to write a customer name so I know to whom this task will be delivered. That's it. I just created a custom field. Then I will be able to add it to the card. And lastly, item templates. Item templates are also extreme productivity booster, because if I have like my mini project template, once I need to start a new mini project, I can just start from template and say it's my mini project F, and it will create the whole checklist, assign a tag, and other relevant information that was already designed in the template. Keep this one as well in mind. And if you need to change something at bulk, you also have multi-selects for items. You can have this panel where you can perform same action on multiple items at one go. Also a very good productivity booster. So pro tip, look at it. And then let's move on to the last part, which I want to introduce you today. As I have more than one board, you might be wondering, so how do I report on multiple boards at the same time? what kind of things I can get from Teamhood. And that's why we have a thing called workspace views. So a workspace view can aggregate information from all boards and represent it in some different aspect or perspective. In this one we call timeline. It's like a calendar view. So I can view all my work from different boards in a single calendar view. I can see when I have capacity based on my schedules. I can see what my people are doing. If I need to group again by people, I just switch to user grouping, and now my calendar shows who is doing what on which day. We also have more advanced report called workload. It even takes into account if you have work shifts, if somebody's working half-time or full-time and you're using hourly estimations, it can calculate how much hours are already allocated and how much capacity people still have, or maybe they're already overloaded. So check it out. I will not cover it today. You should look for other videos to learn more. Last thing I want to show you, what we call is like agile metrics or performance metrics. Both names are fine because we don't push our tool to be just agile. It's just a buzzword. You call it whatever you want. For us, performance is also good. So performance metrics, they paint you a picture how efficient is your process or your team. How much work do you complete on time? Very important. If you're very committed to delivering on time to your clients. How much on average work spends in progress? Very important metric to understand, what's your cycle time. How much time work takes to complete from idea to actual finish line, not only in progress, but from idea to finish line. Again, also important. If you want to measure time once an order arrives in your, let's say, website or front desk, how much time does it take until we fulfill it, being delivered and signed off by the client? And then, how much work do you complete every month and how much new work arrives at your team or boards? Again, super important if you want to understand, is your team getting overloaded or it's performing as expected? And there will be also smart things that Teamhood will do for you. Teamhood will offer which items to look at current month so you can improve these statistics. And it's not about just single numbers, it's about timeline. So Teamhood will show you month over month trends and you will see whether you're improving or not. And then you will be able to take decisions and change your process according to that data and look into the future to improvement points or other ideas. So that's kind of it what I wanted to show you today with Kanban. Remember, Teamhood is all about making work visual. It's actually extremely focused on teamwork, so a lot of collaboration features already built in. And if you're just starting with things, Teamhood is free. Just get your team, start using it, see if you love the product, ask us questions if you want help. We're totally available for, consultations, totally, again, free of charge. And yeah, give us feedback, and yeah, go make that project a success, make your team a champion. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.